So I just got the radiator hoses in from Whoosh Motorsports. Ended up installing the top one already. They're going real nice. They're bent just like the factory radiator hoses. See, there's a ton of plies, silicon, bent up real nice. It's the lower hose. They come with the hose clamps, so it uses the worm gear hose clamps instead of the regular spring-loaded that the stock system uses. I guess you could reuse the spring-loaded ones. Like came with the car if you wanted to. Putting these ones in to get the stock hose out, top radiator hose out. I did pull this line off because to get the spring clamp off, I needed more room to get in there. But to put the new one on, because it has the worm gears, I was able to leave that guy on and just snake it in there. And I ran the screw for the clamps on the bottom side down here as well, because you can get the ratchet in. To tighten it, you can come in from under here to get to it if you run it on the bottom side. It's pretty easy access with the intake out, and you don't really have any issues with the clamp. You can see there's a plastic spacer that hooks this other hose in, but I didn't want the clamp to rub up against this other hose, so running it under was pretty much my best option. So the nut to tighten the worm gear, and also the little tab that starts running out when you tighten it, it won't come in contact with this other hose and over time rub up against it. So that's what I ended up doing, just to avoid any kind of chafing. And same thing here. It's not quite as bad because this cable's pretty far. It has a lot of slack in it, but I figured I'd run it, and you can come in under it real easy to tighten it up. So I go ahead and put the lower hose on, and then we're going to vacuum fill the system. So we have the lines installed. All the coolant lines are back in, so we're getting ready to vacuum fill the system. This is an OEM brand vacuum filler, OEM tool brand. So you go ahead, for this particular one, the rubber spacer, or it's rubber coupler that comes with this thing, the default one fits perfectly in the expansion tank. So you kind of wiggle it in a little bit and then tighten this collar up just so you know you're going to get a good seal in the system. Just hand tighten it, you don't have to get crazy with it. But you're going to pull a vacuum on, so you want to make sure it's tight. There we go. So that guy's getting tight. So we have that on there, and then you want to get your shop air ready. And you've got the Venturi fitting here, so you're going to plug this in into your shop air. There's a little tube you can put on here, depending on how you want to redirect the Venturi, the blow-through air. So you're going to want to run this guy till you hit somewhere between -20 and 25, so between 20 and 30 obviously, a vacuum. And then you're going to close off this valve. Give it a few seconds, maybe a minute or two. Make sure it holds vacuum, and then you go ahead and grab this hose here. You pop this guy out, plug this in to the fluid filler, and then you drop this into your bottle of coolant. Open up the valve, and it just starts filling. So the only thing you got to make sure at that point is you don't let it get all the way to the bottom of the bottle, so you start pulling air in again. Quick little note, if you're using the OEM gauge, this one's in CMHG. Most of the instructions are written for inch MG, or HG, sorry. So you want to actually run it all the way between 50 and 60 in the yellow range, which makes more sense. So the first time I did it, I ran it between 20 and 25 for the inch HG, and really didn't pull any vacuum on the system. So you want to go between 50 and 60 on this OEM unit when the gauge is in CMHG. Just make sure you pay attention to what units the gauge is in. So we have the alternator back in now. After vacuum testing the system, pulled it down and didn't show any leaks. So I think we're all set for the hose tightness and everything. To run this stud in, you need, what is this thing? This is an E8 socket. This is basically an inverted Torx, or it's a Torx socket. You need one of these. The torque on this is
believe it's 10 Newton meters for the stud, not the nut, but the stud. That equates to about 89 inch-pounds. And then once you get the stud in, you want to, there's a bolt down here, the bolt right here, and then the nut on the stud. All those get torqued to 48 Newton meters, which is about 35, 36 inch-pounds. And you torque it from the bottom, passenger side, and then driver's side. Then you can get your belts back on per the manual diagram.
So when you're putting your belt back on, your accessory belt back on, it's easier because you've got to get on this idler pulley on the alternator. It's easier to route the belt. You've got your tensioner back there, route it around this idler, down around the compressor pulley, and leave it hanging. It's hard to see, but leave it hanging off the back pulley there. And I think maybe it's actually the main crank pulley, but leave it hanging off that because you got to get under the car and pull the tensioner forward. So that's about the best way to give you. You need a lot of leverage to get that tensioner forward, and trying to hook this guy around the idler when you're keeping tension on, it's pretty difficult. So this is probably about the best way to allow you to do it yourself. Don't forget to remate your electrical connections on your alternator. You got your main, it's hard to get it to focus here because this AC line, but you've got your main electrical connection right there. And then there's a little guy, a little clip right along the side of it right here, so don't forget to get those in. The torque on the bolt for the main line is 15 Newton meters, which is about 133 inch-pounds.